Coach Simmons said that during the orange and green game, a member of the 220 will be coaching the orange team, and a member of the 220 will be coaching the green team. I am ineligible because I do most of my coaching during the season. I don't have time for practice games. Only deal in the real thing. But anyone, I see that we got a number of tickets in the jar back there, but there's no charge for the ticket. If you want to get in the running, please be sure and put your ticket there. I know Leroy, I sure hope Leroy don't win. But there's no charge for the ticket. If you want to get in this competition, ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for just a moment, President Robinson just walked into the building. Let's have a round of applause for President Robinson, please. Oh, Paul, you bring in the president.
We already. Hey, Mr. J, this is going on HBCU game day.
All right. All right. Yeah, she made copies and scattered around the room, yeah. Couldn't do this without my wife, Paul. Thank you, Mr. President, for coming. You know, the president has not been busy. He just finished a around the South recruiting trip. He's made a lot of visits to a lot of schools. So I want you to know that just because the spring break was coming, that Dr. Robertson was out working to bring more students to Florida A&M. So in fact, this guy is always working. Yes. Oh, are you trying to say that's why the president is here?
You know he's gonna have a mic soon, right? You know he's gonna have a mic soon, right, Mr.
Many years ago, when I was an employee, and Dr. Robertson, of course, at the time was a member of the president's cabinet. And we made a lot of trips, and Dr. Robertson would go out jogging in the morning. And he always used me as someone to emulate during the run, to try to keep up with my speed. I was in front, yes. but he has always been a very strong supporter of the 220 Quarterback Club. And when he has time, he always takes the time to come and spend a few moments with us. Mr. President, is your schedule, would you like to come up first? And whenever you're ready, I can hold the fort down. I got a number of old stories.
Let me go ahead before the chicken gets cold.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of Florida A&M University, Dr. Larry Robbins.
Thanks, Eddie, and good afternoon, the 220 Club. And Eddie's right, I could never catch up with him, right? Because he was always behind me. and of all people, right, you know, I try to be kind. In fact, I believe I am. But Tommy Mitchell, talking about somebody eating, right? Who was the first in line today? Tommy Mitchell, right? So anyway, it has been a fascinating week. Tommy was there on some of those trips. We started a president's tour in Mobile last week. We went on to Birmingham and then to Macon, Georgia. We would have gone to Atlanta, but the city schools there were still having some concerns about COVID, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to tell you, and I did miss the Birmingham leg of the trip because I had to give a keynote in Orlando. I guess that was last Thursday, right? But everywhere we went, right, the enthusiasm and interest in attending FAMU was just incredible, right? Starting in Mobile, I got a chance to see that one, you know, firsthand. I got a chance to see Macon firsthand. Folks, it's just incredible. Just to give you a few data points before I sit back down, we're going to have another record year in terms of students applying to FAMU, right? Well over 10,000 already. Probably going to get around 14 or 15 before it's over, because a lot of that happened before, you know, we did this recruitment trip. Although to me, this recruitment trip is about the juniors who are going to be coming in 2023, right? Although there are still some good kids out there for 2022, and we want to make sure that they understand that we value them as well. You should note this, too, that the student profile continues to increase at the university. For the students who have been admitted for the fall of 2022, the average high school GPA is 3.96, so it's going to be some really outstanding young men and women joining us here on the Heights of Seven Hills. However, we haven't forgot about Tommy Mitchell, who's at 1.96, so we're working on a mechanism to get them in as well, you know. But seriously, though, you know, I'm concerned about every student who doesn't get into FAMU as much as I am about the ones who do, because that's another lost potential in my mind. Hopefully they go into other places. But that's what motivated us to develop the Ignite program, where for the state college system in Florida, they can go there, get their AA degrees, and transfer to FAMU, not just in general articulation where they come in and hope they get the degree that they want, but they can start in a particular degree program at 18 of the state colleges where there are multiple degree programs in each one of those arrangements where they can come into that specific degree program at Florida A&M University. And I'm really, really excited about that, because that keeps access on the table for us. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we still have in the state of Florida and the nation, and making sure that we extend the wonderful opportunity that FAMU provides to as many students as possible. During the tour, I share a lot of, statistics with students and their parents about why they should come to FAMU or one of the nation's HBCUs in general. It's just incredible what we're doing in terms of transforming the lives of students and their families, even in 2022. People think it was something back in the dark ages, right, when black folks couldn't go anywhere else but to an HBCU. But the real story is that in today's world, there was a report just issued yesterday, some of you may have seen it, where it identified the 10 institutions or 10 states or so, maybe not that many, where black graduates from HBCUs make more than black graduates from non-HBCUs in that state, right? And for FAMU, the average is about 3,000 plus or so more, right? And that's just an average. We know the real story when you start adding in things like pharmacy in and so forth, there's a much larger differential. So the value proposition for FAMU is just as high in 2022 as it was in 1887. We need to make sure people continue to understand that. And I spend a lot of my time trying to raise funds to support the students at FAMU. And you should know that we're going to have a record year this year. We already have exceeded $20 million, And by the way, my goal was 12 point something. Our division of development, they had a $15 million goal. We're over 20 million, and we haven't gotten to June the 30th yet. So I want to thank all of you who contributed to that. But at the same time, tease you a bit. You can still dig a little bit deeper, right? There's still time on the table. Roy Moore, But I just want to thank all of you for that, because I think what we can't do is allow people to perceive that we're not supporting ourselves. And I know this group in particular is working on that. We also just had, so far, some very good news in the legislative session, probably one of our best ever. And I know Vaughn and I were talking about it. We need to congratulate those rattlers on the Hill who, contributed to making this happen, and everybody else we see as well, because, we know what had to happen for this to get passed. And so don't be blinded by the light. Understand that we need to make sure that we support those rattlers, but a lot of other people who contributed, but those rattlers are the ones who led the way, and I have to give them full credit for it. An outstanding, outcome. Have a meeting. Well, we have an event at the governor's mansion this evening, and have an opportunity to try to convince him that these are worthy, investments in FAMU in the state of Florida. And there are some things that, he can veto, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Anyway, it's been a good year so far, off to a good start in terms of recruiting. And, I'm pretty sure that our athletic program, they're going to tell you about some of the wonderful things that are happening there. Maybe the strength coach, you can keep up with Eddie. I can't keep up with him. Trying for years. I went to my first week or so on the campus. I went to the track, right, and there was Eddie. I'm running around huffing and puffing, and Eddie was out there. I had already run 10 miles, but by the time Eddie got there, I said, Doc, I can't keep up with this young man. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for what you do. Every dime you make, every contribution you make is well deserved by someone at the institution, and highly appreciated, certainly by me and everyone else. So thank you very much, Eddie. And thank you for inviting me. See, I don't come unless Eddie invites me. He invited me. I didn't just show up because it was fried chicken, although that did have something to do with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to say just one more thing about Dr. Robinson that's often overlooked. We've just gone through a serious pandemic with many students having to leave. Many students may have gotten sick. And we went into this, I don't know what to refer to it in order to capture the essence of just how bad it was. But Florida A&M University came out, was not the end of it, but maybe the downside of it, almost stronger, if not stronger than it was before. And that requires great leadership. And I think we need to recognize that FAMU before the pandemic and the way the university is now under the leadership of Dr. Larry Robinson. So one more round of applause for the president, please. I was happy to see Coach Cole come in because he gave me some more information that I didn't know about. Coach Simmons is, I think he's in Disney World. I know he's in Orlando with his family. He seemed to think that that was a little bit more important than being here today. Yeah. You know, if Jerry wanted to go to Orlando and Disney World, and I had the 220 quarterback club, well, I think I'll move on. I don't think I'll. Yeah. But this is the beginning of a historic program at Florida A&M University, because when Coach Simmons told me that his really greatest priority was to make sure he doesn't have any players get in serious trouble because of heat stroke. And I found out that just recently we've had more than I knew. I thought it was, I remember one year, I knew of 2 players. I understand that whole year we were between 7 and 8 players who got in trouble with potential heat stroke. Florida is a dangerous state to practice football in. And then when I picked up the paper one day, I read in USA Today, I read in Sports Illustrated about this new container recovery center that could take the temperature down to, 18 degrees. And I read how the New Orleans Saints had purchased one. And on the day that they purchased theirs and it got set up, it was 90 degrees and very high humidity. And so hot that from time to time during the practice, 30 of the players would just go into this big container and stay 5 or 6 minutes and then go back to practice. And that's the way it went from then on. And this thing is caught on, and FSU purchased one, and LSU, I read, may have 2. Alabama, Clemson, and even some high schools. South Carolina. Well, this year you can add Florida A&M University to that list. And that's because of these good people. Because when I heard how much it cost to rent one for 2 months, I said, well, we're probably going to have to pass this up, because we had just got a lot of bucks for the nutrition program. But these people don't care how often I ask them for money. No big deal. But Mr. President, I'm saying all this to introduce Paul Boudreaux. I almost said, it used to be a Lou Boudreaux. Yeah. Baseball, shortstop.
No relation.
No relation, yeah.
If you see on notice, then I'll pass out my cards. I have an X on the end of my name, which means I'm a Cajun from South Louisiana.
Okay.
Lou Boudreaux had no X because
Yeah.
he could actually spell Boudreaux. So I have to put an X on the end of his. So he was from Canada.
Well, with that, I know these folks probably know I was such a great baseball fan, as well as a pretty good player. But with that in mind, my first reaction when I read this is to find out how I can get in touch with the man responsible, and if we could bring him here and he could tell us how important this thing is and why he went, after many years as an equipment manager for Louisiana State University, I believe, he came up with this and the impact it's had on football in this country. So let's have a good round of applause, folks, for Paul Boudreaux.
Okay, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. First of all, you give me too much credit. I guess in my formal life before athletics, I used to sell high-pressure valves and pipe fittings for a manufacturing company in Louisiana, and I moved to Mobile, Alabama in 1985, and I discovered a town over here, Perry, Florida, and I think it's pretty close. And just traveling in the Panhandle, I realized how important pine trees are, because we have cypress trees, but the only thing you can do with those is make pretty things out of them and barns, but that's about it. But pine trees, I didn't realize, were paper mills and everything we use in everyday life, building houses. But there was a company in Mobile, it was by the name of World Sporting Goods, and if you spend any time in athletics, football especially, all the blocking sleds and dummies and pads were all made in Mobile, Alabama. And he was, like I said, his fate would have it, I was his next door neighbor. And he told me, he says, I was selling out my business in Mobile. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I said, oh, I'm going to take a year off and relax and enjoy my children, tired of traveling. And he says, boy, I could use some help in Louisiana. So I was at home. I hadn't been home in 15 years. So I went back home and got into athletic equipment and really dove into it. I started my own sporting goods company, but not like Dick's or Academy or Hibbett Sports or something like that. I focused on team sports, all sports, football, basketball, all the way tennis, everything. But football's always been my love. Played the game. But I noticed more and more people were, I guess the first one that really caught my eye was Corey Stringer. Played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was the last player, thank God, that has passed away from heat-related illness at practice. And so that really shook me because he was a tremendous human being and player. And then as time went on and years went on, going to fall camps, July, summer workouts, what the athletes have to go through, what these guys do to get them in shape just to get to August and be able to survive August is very taxing, but it has to be done. So the head trainer at LSU and the head trainer at Alabama, University of Alabama, told me, they said, Boudreaux, we got to figure out a way to cool these athletes off during training. The only thing that I ever knew they would take, in Louisiana anyway, horse troughs. People, it's like a big round or a square, and they would fill it up with ice and water. And it'd get down to like 54 degrees, I think, or maybe a little cooler than that. And if a player overheated, they would just dump him in it to try to cool him off. And I thought, I put my foot in it one day, and I'm like, I don't work well in the cold. I don't care how hot I am. And I thought, wow, that's miserable. And, it's tough seeing guys my size trying to ease down in an ice tub. And we have ladies in the audience, but they probably understand it as well, too. It's not very pleasant. I'll just leave it at that. I'll be nice. So I tried everything. I tried the misting fans, which I do on sidelines, the foggers, and I said, well, let's get a big tent, and I'll put up 26 of these inside of here. Let's see. Well, I got the temperature in the tent down to about 72 degrees, and I thought, man, this feels pretty good. It's 105 heat index outside. But as soon as I put 100 players in the tent, whew, and then they were coming out and they were more wet than when I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just do here? And the coach is screaming and cussing at me. And I'm like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. Then I took these giant air conditioning units that they use on offshore oil platforms to cool not just the engine room, but the living quarters. Well, I trucked one of those over, and I ran all this ductwork into another tent. Same problem. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So Alabama had an idea. He said, look, we'll put tents by our indoor practice facility, and we'll take your fans and we'll pull the air out of that. Let's try that. Same problem. So I was on my way back from Louisiana, from Tuscaloosa one day, and a Cisco food truck pulled up on the side of me, and I thought, man. I said, he's got frozen food in this thing. I said, so he pulled off at the rest area, and I told my buddy here, I said, let's check him out. So we pulled in behind him, and I guess the guy thought we were going to rob him or whatever. But I didn't have a gun. I had a tape measure. And he's like, can I help you? And I'm like, how cold is it in there? And he said, it's -8. And he says, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just measuring to see from the doors down to the ground. And I thought, boy, that would be really neat. We could build these trailers, rent these trailers, pull them up on a practice facility, plug them in, and we're down the road. So he questioned me. He said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But the further I got closer to home, I got to thinking, now, how am I going to get the players from the ground up into this trailer? So I'm saying, let's see, they got cleats on, and Coach Saban gets great enjoyment in cussing me out every time because because he got to Louisiana first year at LSU, and we walk out on the practice field, and he goes, Boudreaux, yeah, Coach, man, this thing looks like a bunch of hillbillies set this thing up. And I said, do what? Yeah, this thing's terrible, the way you got it all, practice field all set up and everything. I said, first of all, Coach, we got to get something straight right here. The only hillbilly in this room is you. I said, excuse my French, I said, we're a bunch of South Louisiana Cajun coon asses is what they call us. And we butcher the English language. I don't know what y'all do in West Virginia. So I'm thinking driving down the interstate. I said, I can just see it now. Alabama's star wide receiver, hot and sweaty, ready to get into this freezer trailer or come out of it, and he slips and tears up a knee. I said, I'll never hear the end of it. So that nicks that. And, you know, I've had a few items over my years that I've developed and whatnot, and I always tell people, as a salesman, I talk a lot, as you can tell. I don't hear a lot. And the only time the good Lord, I tell him, talks to me is, guys, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's at 3 o'clock in the morning when I have to get up to go to the bathroom. So, and over the years it's happened. I always keep a pad and a pencil on the lavatory. And sure enough, 3 o'clock one morning, he came up and said, refrigerated shipping containers. Just as clear as I just said it to you. I wrote it down. I went back to bed. I woke up the next morning and I said, I got something last night. My wife said, Really? Well, I said, she said, I didn't remember if you did. And I said, no, darling, that's not it. I said, I'm telling you, it just got in my mind. And you'd have to understand my wife. She's a beautiful girl. Her portrait comes with the wallet when you buy it. So anyway, I told her about it. And she's like, wow, that's interesting. Well, I have a friend of mine in Atlanta that has him. So I called him, and he's like, what are you going to do with him? And I said, I'm thinking about cooling off players. And he said, alive or dead? And I went, wow, what? And he says, live players? And I said, well, of course. I don't want a portable morgue. I'm trying to do something here. And so I said, do you have one close to Tuscaloosa, Alabama? Yes, sir. I said, great. Do you mind? He says, I got one at Walmart in Northport, Alabama. So I called the manager, and I said, told him who I was. And I said, look, can I have the medical staff, training staff, and equipment staff come over to your store and take a look at he said, well, what are you putting in them? We got turkeys in ours. You know how big turkeys are, and that's really what they use. You see them at every Walmart in America, the food store, because turkeys are so big they can't put them all out, and it's such a trucking shortage. So he says, yeah, but under one condition. What? He said, I need 6 T-shirts and 4 hats. And I said, I think we can swing that. So I called the equipment guy. I said, y'all going on a field trip? Oh, yeah, where? I said, Walmart in Northport. He said, I pass by there every day. What's the deal? I said, you got to go behind it. Here's the manager's name. Bring him 6 T-shirts. So I called the manager. They're on their way. They weren't there 10 minutes and said, Boudreaux, you got something. And I said, you kidding me? He said, okay. So I called my guy back in Atlanta. We set it up at Alabama, and the players are looking at it. And they're like, what the hell is this? And someone said, man, it's a damn cattle trailer. And I said, and I thought, oh, God, they scared. So I said, look, come on in. So I brought them in, and I walked all the way to the front of the trailer. And the test units really were refrigerated shipping containers, no windows. So the first time we hooked it up, and I went in it, I'm like, okay, close the doors. And I'm sitting in there by myself, pitch black. And I thought, I don't like this. So I told the guys, I said, we got to leave the doors open. And you've seen them in grocery stores, or what, these big sheets of plastic that they go in and out of the cold in. It keeps the cold in. So I said, okay, we'll hang those. So it leaves the back door open. So we put the players in. They absolutely loved it. And so I said, well, okay. So I did that. I left there, went back to Baton Rouge. They wanted 2. Alabama's got 1? Yeah, we want 2. Okay. Said, hey, I'll spend your money, if that's what you want. Did that. Then the ultimate happened. Columbia, South Carolina, Gamecocks. What's these cooling boxes you got? Send me 2. Did that. Then the next thing I know, the next day, which was unbelievable advertising I got, the video guy at South Carolina actually filmed a video when the South Carolina players got in it. Well, we put flooring and chairs and lights, and I thought that's good. Well, they jazzed it up a little bit, put a little music in the box for them too. So this is all being videoed. It hits YouTube. It wasn't 15 minutes after that thing hit YouTube, a certain gentleman named Dabo Sweeney up the road here at Clemson calls, what the hell are these boxes? And I said, well, Coach, good, nice to talk to you, And he's like, Boudreaux, got to be a Cajun from Louisiana. Yes, sir. So, well, whatever they got, how many they got? I said, 2. He said, well, bring me 2. I'm like, okay. So I go to Clemson. Then Florida State finds out Clemson has them. And then the next thing I know, I get a call, University of Texas Longhorns. And the trainer's like, Boudreaux, you got to help me out. I said, what's the matter? I don't know you. How can I help you? But I'll do what I can do. He says, we went, and Tom Herman was the head coach at Texas. He said, we were in a staff meeting with about 40 people. And he says, sometimes, we kind of get behind. I know LSU and Alabama and schools like that sometimes get ahead of us. But he said, they got this deal set up in Lafayette, Louisiana, University of Louisiana. They got these cold boxes they putting these players in. He said, how in the hell the University of Lafayette, Louisiana get ahead of the University of Texas? And he said, the trainer kind of said, well, I just wanted to stay quiet, but I said, well, because the guy that has them is 20 miles away from him. That's why. He said, well, I don't know. You call that Cajun and tell him I better have some boxes over here. So on to Texas. And it was like, I was sitting there talking to my crew going, how are we going to market these things? We're going to have a marketing budget and do some advertising. And one of the trainers told me, you don't need to spend a dime. I said, what do you mean? How are people going to know? He said, they'll know because they keep talking to one another. So sure enough, that was just the colleges. Then I get the big help was I get a call from the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton, very friendly, outgoing, wonderful gentleman if you live in New York. So trainer calls me, how quick can you be here? And I said, well, I'm in between Columbia, South Carolina and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This was on a Saturday afternoon. He said, when can you be here? I said, when do you want me there? He said, Coach Payton and Mickey Loomis, the general manager, would like to meet with you. I said, what time and where? Practice facility. What time? 8:30 in the morning. I said, it's Sunday morning. Yeah, we practicing then. So I said, well, when the Saints call, I'm coming. And I knew right then, NFL, wow, 32 teams. Yeah. This old Cajun, he didn't read real good, but he knows how to do math, as they say in Louisiana. So I drive around the world, spend a night in Slidell, drive across the causeway to the Saints practice facility, and I get there and they're like, oh, Boudreaux, we got practice. And I'm like, okay, well, Coach and Mickey want to meet with you after practice. It's like, okay. So he said, look, we got an area right here with a air-conditioned tent. Go sit in there. You can watch practice. So I'm sitting in here, and I'm sitting outside looking around, watching everything. And it's like a peace came over me. I know y'all have had this experience, And it was like, Lord, what am I doing here? Are you sure I'm supposed to be here? I mean, I'm on hollow ground, it's not the NFL, really, already? And sure enough, I kind of started chuckling, actually, and practice was over, and Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis said, okay, when can you have us one here? I said, this Sunday, I'll be here Tuesday morning. Okay, so Tuesday morning, we get the box, and I still just a test box. We get the Saints, set it all up, get it running. It's 18 degrees. Here comes Coach Payton and Mickey Loomis. And the first thing out of Coach's mouth is this, I'll be nice, is this it? And I said, yes, sir. He said, man, this looks like crap. And I'm like, Coach, don't worry about how it looks on the outside. Your marketing department's going to wrap it, and it'll look all nice and fit right in. And the guys had warned me, said he's a real stickler on how things look. I'm like, well, the damn performance is what ought to matter. What the hell they look like? But they said, that ain't how this guy is, man. Okay, so he's shaking his head, and I said, look, Coach, best thing, you and Mickey come get in the box with me. And I got it like at 12 degrees. Man, and they walk in. Jesus. I said, have a seat and relax. They sat, relax. They sat down a minute and they talked a little bit. Then we started talking about practice schedule. And he says, you're not dictating my practice schedule. I said, I'm not here to do that. You do whatever you want with it. So we talked, and we got out of it, and they talked a minute. Then I asked him, I said, well, Coach, what do you think? Man, he said, Boudreaux, I love it. He said, how in the hell did you come up with this idea? And so I told him, I said, you really like it, huh? Hell yeah, I do. That's great. Help me sell it. So he says, I got a question. He said, this thing you got here now, he said, you ever think about, kind of building a newer model? And I said, oh, I'm way ahead of you on that. But I just want to make sure it works before we make the investment. Oh, okay. I said, you want to invest? No, we'll talk about that in a little while. So I said, well, it ain't going to not easy to about trying to pull a playbook away from him, trying to get money out of him too, So he says, what did you do, man? Did you dump a bunch of clams off down at the port and bring this thing over here? What do you tell an NFL head coach that you've just met for the first time? So I just looked at him and I went, clams in South Louisiana? Really? I said, you damn Yankee. I said, are you kidding me? I had it full of catfish heads and crawfish tails last night. And he said, whatever, just do something. I said, I am. I'm going to take your money and help me sell the thing. So the next morning, the NFL Network, sure enough, this lady shows up at 5:30 in the morning with a film crew and films a whole segment on it. Then the NFL started calling. Houston Texans, different teams. Then a year later, my friends at the Oakland, Los Angeles Raiders, now who have been training in the wine country in Northern California in the 50s, they start experiencing Las Vegas, Nevada, 6% humidity, which is fat man's paradise, believe me. 115 degrees. And I said, now this is going to be the ultimate challenge here. How is this going to work? I'm used to working in the swamp. Now I'm going out into the desert. I don't know. So my wife and I go to Las Vegas. It was during the pandemic, so everything was pretty well closed. And we get out there, and trainers kept coming by, giving me these 9-ounce bottles of water. Here, drink. I said, I'm not thirsty. Drink. I said, I'm not sweating. She said, yeah, you are. You just don't know it out here. I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't take a shower at home. I got to get out of it. I'm soaking wet. And so we started with Vegas, 115 degrees. And the players, what we noticed in following them, it wasn't just the idea of cooling their body. We noticed that when they came out of the box, after 10 to 15 minutes, Coach Payton had even said this, he noticed that the players would come out fresher. It wasn't like they were coming out going, oh God, we got 6 more periods to grind through. They were like, okay, coach, let's go. That's when I knew I had something. That's something else. So it's been a labor of love for me. And like I said, the pandemic kind of slowed me down, but it's kind of tough to kill this occasion off. And I have a lot of fun. This is great. I know one thing. When and if we do bring it, we'll be here on Sunday night, and we'll be here for lunch Monday. So you'll meet every day, every Monday. Dr. Rob, I'll let you know when we come into town. I'll make sure and request we do the fried chicken, because I'm pretty good about that too. It was I feel right at home. I mean, look at me, folks. I mean, I was looking at crowd of peas and cabbage. Are you kidding me? Good Lord, I smother myself. You driving, by the way, when we leave. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to hang around and answer them for you. I guess the timeline, Eddie, we'll get with coaches. Y'all get with the staff. And I'm kind of computer challenged, I guess, like most people my age. But if you go on brzforty.com, that will give you some information. AccuWeather and the Weather Channel have done segments of us in Tallahassee. So one in Tallahassee was the Weather Channel. The one in Baton Rouge was on AccuWeather with a real nice guy from Derrick Henry. Not the player, but he's the weatherman, or he was. And he had called me the first year we came out with the with the real unit, and he's like, "Hey, tell me about it." I said, "I got a better idea." So what's that? I said, "Tell your producer to fly your butt down to Baton Rouge and come experience it, and I'll buy you a crab salad, a crab sandwich or something." Man, that sounds great. The next day, "Hey, I'll be in Baton Rouge tomorrow afternoon." So, well, that was quick. So we did a quick segment, and they did it on that. And you can actually see the players interacting in and out of the unit. And I've got, I guess, 5 or 6 trainers, if you want to call and talk to them, that'll give you information on them as well. The medical data is available. I have to get it through LSU because they actually did the research and development for me as far as on players. But the main thing is, at the end of the day, player safety. You know, I love this game, and I saw it take a hit with brain injuries, which has really been catastrophic to a lot of people, you know. So I just like to keep pushing the needle and try to find out more information, how more people can play this game. I don't want to see my heroes crippled up, beat up any more than they have to. It's a violent game. Like somebody asked me, "What do you think?" I said, most of the time you go to a game, they got an ambulance in the end zone, you know, so you know going in. But it's a beautiful game. It doesn't just teach you about football. I tell this to people all the time. It teaches you about life. Boy, in this game, I don't care who you are, some point in time you're going to get knocked on your butt. But what this game teaches you, pick it up by the bootstraps and go get it. It's out there. We got a beautiful country. We really do. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. And I mean that sincerely. I don't care, white, black, I don't care. The opportunities in this country are never better. And now look at what y'all are doing. You know, we don't have this at Southern Grambling. I can tell you that right now. You can't get 10 of them in the room to agree on anything. once a month, much less once a week, So it's out there. It's a great game. Do something for youth sports if you feel like it. That's where it all starts. And player safety. Player safety is the whole thing. Hey, great talking to you. Yes, sir.